Hi, everybody. Welcome to your call. My name is Lee Honish. I'm the former head loss mitigator for Indy Mac Bank, former real estate agent, former banker, former bank executive, and I happen to be one of the best marketers on the planet, my opinion. I've got to be perfectly honest. My stuff works. I am very boastful and proud about the fact that my marketing works. This is my Tuesday marketing call. If you're watching it and you're not a member of Home Advocates, visit homeadvocates.io. If you're on this call today live, it's because I gave a little bit of a Christmas present, which is I invited our general email list, which you may be watching on a replay, a copy of today's video as well. So let's jump right into it, shall we? I'm going to share my screen. And I am guessing that all of you can see that. I'm keeping the chat bar open so that I know what you guys are up to. I got it right in front of me. It's good. Everybody can see my screen. I'm hoping pretty well. This may be a video edit, but I'm guessing right now you're seeing me in a little tiny corner on the right, or split screen, and a big copy of my screen. Hopefully it's nothing bad. Thank you, Jane. So what we did for the new year first is we updated the homeadvocates.io website to give it a deeper, richer feel. I had originally built it just so that when you Googled somebody like Jane Sanders, you home advocate or the word home advocate, you immediately wind up on our page. That's exactly what happens, right? You type in home advocates, real simple, super straightforward. And there's our page on line one immediately. And I'll click it because it's a free click. Looks good on my Google Analytics. The second thing was to make sure that for the people we're doing marketing for, which is all of you that are coaching students in general using the Home Advocate name, those of you that are doing the RED trial program, which we're going to talk a little bit more about here in a second. When they type in Home Advocates Antonio Atoche, right? Boom, you get his Facebook posts, you get the videos that we've put up, and of course the Home Advocates website. Why? Because all advocates, again, with even the new site, are listed on the front page. If you're watching this and you're a coaching student going, I don't like what that is, then I suggest going into your profile through the coaching resource and change it. I just alphabetize them by first name. That's not my choice. I can alphabetize by email, but that would even be more confusing. The way the data comes out of the coaching website is basically two columns, your full name and your email address. Sorry, not much more I can do. You can probably add more on the name line, like for those that are coaching students. This is Jenna is the lead in Jenna and Robert's case, right? So we added Jenna and Robert in the one line and then the email address behind it. I suspect, I have not tested this to all coaching students, I'm telling you, you could probably put something like your license number or anything else behind your email address. And I'm quite positive it'll just show up in that cell location right behind it. The new website has the same information as the old website. It's just a much more straightforward, deeper, richer looking and feeling and operating website. And the other thing that we are getting ready to do to it is going to be advocate versus agent. This is something I'm kind of excited about, right? So this goes back even to the RED marketing. So why should a homeowner talk to an advocate as compared to an agent, right? We talk about ABC agents a lot. And that's why we have a Thursday coaching call to discuss those things. My feeling, as well as those within the real estate educating community, if there is such a thing, but there is a group of us that do this. We are all into relationship buildings. Very few, I can only think of one or two that really believe in those hard pressing ABC close. So in general, it is a mindset that is still perpetuated throughout the industry, right? If a homeowner is not interested in buying or selling and all they need is good advice, generally speaking, most real estate agents and investors don't want to give them the time of day unless there's something in it for them. I'm not here to argue the validity of what's in it for me. I do lots of programs that are just for me that have nothing to do with money, remarkably, right? Because when you say what's in it for me, most people believe that that is a monetary situation. So when we talk, say, the red program, that is currently losing money. It's going to lose money. The program that I set up, which operates exceptionally well at producing somebody like Jane or Antonio, eyes on them and positioned as an advocate, right? So as I've been testing out this program, and I want to show you some of the methods that we use for distributing it and what we're paying for our clients, right? So we are paid $100 a week from Jane or from Antonio for the sake of discussion. And I got to stop the sorry. The next thing that happens is we record content. It's my job to produce relevant content for them constantly, right? So in producing that relevant content, I feel like I should be talking to you guys. So in that relevant content, you need to stay on top of what's happening, or if you could do it, bank some shows. One of the things I desperately want to test within the program is doing content for someone. I'll say that again. Somebody like, let's say it's Chuck Perry. He's not doing the program, or Barbie. I just like the name. Just had to say it out loud. Don Betts, Colorado, not doing the program. I'm not mad about people not doing the program. I'm just saying to those of you that are watching this, what I would want to do, or let me say this, if your fear is creating the physical video like this, right, creating the content, because I'm pretty sure the only people that are going to watch any of these topics are people that, because we're targeting a very specific way, are into that message. So those are the numbers that I want to look at, if that makes sense. So I want to create the content for them, and maybe either put it in the intro or add their picture, and I do something like, hi, this is your local advocate, Don Betts in Colorado, I guess. I haven't worked out the semantics of how I would do that, or if it would be something that I just pre-shoot and make it part of an intro. So while I'm talking about, say, Colorado and specific real estate things in Colorado to engage people with Colorado, which means I'd have to stay up like I do for Florida, for California, and Nevada. I don't have anybody in Arizona. I believe I'm right. I have to stay up on current events and be able to talk about those things with somebody else. Now, me creating the content by myself, I know that it will be a TED Talk between 11 and 19 minutes, period. Some of these we trim, some of these we bring down a little bit lower because there's some math to the actual length and size. I'm trying to find myself a long-term editor that would, again, because of this project, would impact that very small niche that I'm working with, so that Derek, my CEO, doesn't get upset of the $100 a week. And we use some of that money to pay for advertising so that I can inject it directly into streams that I want. Does that make sense? So we'll use some what if instances, and I'll show you some things that and how they work. That makes sense to everybody. All right. So let's talk about content. So let's say hypothetically, I'm creating content for you, whoever you are, and you sign up because I sent out the link, right? I would like to test this. I'm not sure Derek now would actually let me have more people. There's a link. If you're on the call, you can have it. If you're watching this on a video replay, there's a link. I'm looking for 1 or 2 people to do this. I want to create the content myself and just funnel. I would still do the same guarantee. I'll flip off a listing, yada, yada, yada. If it doesn't work, I'll figure out a different way to create the content. That's kind of the risk of me doing the content, right? This is a complete trial and error of positioning myself, because I figured out that this is the most effective way long-term for the Red program if I want to make it a part of something that I sell at the correct price later on, right? So far our costs are well over $100 a week to produce one, for the sake of discussion, 14-minute video. I'm only charging 100, which if you're clicking on the link, that's the price I'm charging. It's 52 episodes. I stick to it. This is somewhat enjoyable to me because it pisses Derek off and it pisses Fred off, because I am doing the opposite of what they do, right? Like they keep links and prices down so that more of you can get involved, while I know the value and I want them priced up for the main program. That works, right? There's 100% guarantee. I will get you face-to-face. Those of you that are tagging right now, you know this, you're getting appointments during Christmas while other agents are in Florida, I guess, right? So this is a first for me to try to do it this way. So the person that I get involved with, I would do everything, right? So let's say for the sake of discussion that I do Arizona, which we don't have. I think from a long-term perspective, the costs of this program look to be just break even if I fix it. The cost to produce one video will probably be about $150 a week. That's with you or without you. Branding, tagging, video editing, images, yada, yada, yada. What I can get away with based on the current algorithms or not, that all comes into play. It's factored into one video. That one video put up every week, make sure that it's seen by thousands and thousands, specifically targeting your market that are looking to buy or sell a house. That's the goal. When I create a program, I tend to look at things just like going to a restaurant. So I believe Antonio will back me up, but I believe it's a 4-time markup. So if your food costs are $1 for the plate, you charge $5 because that would factor in power and gas and electricity and everything else. It's the way a bank thinks, right? When a file comes into the bank, you're not factoring the loss on that. You're factoring in the loss of the employees that are working on it. Like there is a true ultimate cost for everything. We do factor that when we do analysis on loss. So 4 or 5 times, whatever the break-even costs are somewhere between 100 and 150. I would say realistically, based on what I know it can produce, it's probably going to be $500 a week for the final program when I open it up to the general population. I believe that they will not have to be on the video with me. I believe that I can just position myself within, say, Arizona, do a 14-minute video on Arizona, and then, right, all the clicks that come in, they're just funneled. You introduce yourself as the advocate for that area. You're, of course, listed on the video as your local representative as the advocate. There isn't any, I'm not doing one video for the whole country. I'm doing one Arizona specific with the name of almost like a Zillow targeted ad with targeted content positioning you. So you're in the intro and there's probably a picture of you in the video as well. At some point where I go, hey, my local advocate is Joe Smith, right? Then that program will probably be $500 as well as the we interview, probably $500 a week because I know it works already. The only thing is to do the long-term test so that I can start to document how many listings and how many leads it produces. And because of the holidays, it's been a little choppy, but me putting out content has not. It also allows me a different feature. Since we're not really doing recurring podcasts yet, which we will do, we're going to use all the different forms and take all the different, like when you do one piece of video like this, you can strip the audio from it and it becomes a podcast, which I'm going to do this week for the podcast that I haven't updated. I don't believe in actual release dates anymore. I do things now on feel. And fortunately, with the people I work with, I have a little bit of a catalog. And since I'm also paying and generating and pushing the ads at my demand, let's say that I reach the end of a 7-day run where I'm pushing Antonio or Terrell or Jane, right? Or Tina. I'm pushing the content. And then at the end of the 7-day run that I paid for you guys, which I can document all of, I can extend it. Or if it's still trending, I can turn off. What I'm trying to do is figure out if I can turn off and turn on the acceleration programs or the ads that I'm buying in the way that I'm doing the ads. And I'll talk about that. So the first hump is creating the content. So I am definitely looking for 2 people. It's kind of the point of this call. I'm looking for 2 people that want to spend $100 a week for me to get them listings with 1 listing guarantee. Did I say that correctly? Click the link below. All right. With all that said, I'm going to create the content. I'm going to create it for Arizona specifically. I'm going to use one of Antonio's videos to show this. I'm happy to do it. And I'm still toying with, do I want his number? And there are little things about it that I'm not sure, right? Because he's part of a trial program. Since it's producing views, I believe right now that running video without intros, when you're just looking, what I'm looking for are casual swimmers. Does that make sense? So this is like fishing. This is a spammy approach to permission-based marketing, right? So in the original permission-based marketing, a man I'd like to call mentor and friend, Seth Godin, explained in the back of the book, which I'm not a particular fan of, but the reality is to have a discussion about it. Very spammy methods to turn people into permission-based. I believe that creating content, good content, germane content that is specific to a market, to a specific need, is awesome. Distributing it can be a little spammy. However, once they click after that point, I want them to be in control and feel like they're in control of the process, if that makes sense. That's what makes it permission-based. That way, when, say, whoever, let's use Chuck Perry because I could see him on the screen, Chuck Perry, who signs up for this program, right, and says, Lee, create my content for me. And I go, cool, Chuck, right? I then position Chuck on the video. The lead comes in. I don't want it to just be somebody who's clicked and filled out forms either. I want them specifically wanting advice or information about buying or selling. That is our message. I don't know if any of you have watched any of the videos. It's certainly going to happen on the stuff I want to put out this week. I haven't decided between the insurance ones. Again, I just extended last week because they were running so good. And I do that every day. A lot of this is me documenting and keeping track. I don't know if we're going to talk about selling before the end of the year or right after the first of the year. I have those videos from everybody. I have a pile of them. I also have some insurance videos. Those are also really great rainy day backlog. I don't know. And for a couple of people, I even have some other stuff. So I have to feel it out for the market when I drop that content or when I drop it. Because if the message isn't good for them to stop, they're not going to stop. This is fishing, right? If the bait's not good, the fish, the person who needs advice, I hate to say fish, homeowners are not fish. They're completely confused. They don't trust realtors. They don't trust banks. They don't trust lenders. They don't trust anyone. And they believe that the planet is flat. If you can keep that in mind, that's your target audience. That's kind of the way I create videos and video content. I don't believe all people believe the planet are flat, nor do I even think less of you if you think the planet is flat. What I'm saying is there is a lot of distrust in content. And when you create content, in my opinion, you're equal to the news. I know you're saying to yourself, well, no, the news is the news. Who appointed them the news? They're just people creating content on stories that are trending. I could easily do that with any of my advocates, and we could do a 15-minute for Jane on Governor DeSantis. One half of the news believes that COVID cases have never been this high in Florida. You go the other side of it, which is Governor Ron. I just like saying Governor Ron. And I want to believe he wears a Hawaiian shirt all the time. Governor Ron has said that they're going down, right? Well, we could talk about that from a real estate perspective and do something that is very trendy right now and ride that wave. Will that generate people asking for advice? Don't think so. I think what people want to know about is the market hot? Is the market going to crash? You have to stay up on current events because that might have an impact. But generally speaking, when I create content, like the one I did for the end of the year for everybody, is now the right time to sell, is now the right time to refi. That's a great message. Most markets are at their peak. They haven't really plateaued. Talking to Terrell about it over on the Ventura side of LA, I learned that days on market are kind of increasing and numbers are kind of stalling. I talked about it on this call a few weeks ago. I got a report from San Francisco from somebody who sent out an email, and I saw that month over month, they're depreciating in the value of properties in San Francisco. And I know you're watching this going, what do I think for the New Year's? I watch the other videos. I've already told you, market's going to crash is such an ugly word. That implies that, people are jumping out of buildings. Do I think that there will be a massive correction in the value of properties in 2022? Yes. Yes, I do. Okay, let's definitively, not I think, I know, fact, right? I've done lots and lots of videos on that. Is now the time to talk about it? No. What is good to talk about right now? It's the end of the year. The videos that we shot last week were based on flooding and rain and natural events. If we get another, I think we've had a couple of trending events nationally, weather related, it could be a right time to drop that content. You have to know these things. Those are the backbone of red marketing. That's honestly what I think I'm getting paid for, is me doing that, or when I create that content. The people that I meet and speak with, Antonio last week brought up 401ks as an add-on to his is now the right time to sell video. Great. I'm a guy to have a discussion with, but I'm going to have to go and edit it and stick it under a format so that it's still basically a TED Talk. That's the reason you see most videos lasting somewhere in that under 19-minute range. Most of them are about 16. It's kind of a sweet spot. There are those that will argue 11 is a sweet spot for to ensure engagement. I will stick to sitcom. Okay, I'm going full 1970s and 80s when people only had TV. Sitcoms, if you remove the content and you stick it on the table, scene after scene after scene, under 20 minutes. So any of these could be correct, right? The rest of that is all advertising. That's why it takes a half hour. So if you break down news stories, they're only 5 or 6 minutes. And that's really what you're doing. You're being a content creator on the scale of CNN, if that's your side of the fence, or Fox, if that's your side of the fence, or Newsmax, if that's your extreme side, and MSNBC, which I believe is the far side of the world for them. I don't know. I used to think somewhere in the middle, and I don't believe that anymore. I just believe that they trend to sell Christmas. They haven't switched out to worrying about the new year and seem to be focusing on Omicron right now. I've stuck that in a little bit into some of the videos. I don't know how heavy I want to go because it is being seen by thousands and thousands of people. So now there's a level of, at least for me as the producer, journalistic integrity on the content that I physically put out or help create for individuals. Or if I'm shooting for, say, Chuck, for the sake of discussion, right? Chuck doesn't want me going on there crapping about his city, right? I get Joe Smith in Arizona, not an actual person, but let's say I do, right? And I just go off on a right debate or a left debate or a content debate in regards to real estate and just vomit that out. that was based on my politics and my feelings. That has nothing to do with the advocate in that area trying to have good conversations and create a great name for home advocates and creating, basically a lead, a listing or a buyer. At the end of the day, buyers or sellers. This is all about buyers and sellers and branding. I haven't lost sight of that. That's why I tell everybody your social media should have no political views, right? It's all a thing. And I believe getting listings and working with buyers, any of that is only going to get tougher in 2022. There are more real estate agents who came in because the market was hot. That means come 2022, when buying season starts for new programs and approaches, door knocking, cold calling, mailers are going to ramp up, right? Fortunately, it's very winter in a lot of locations. The news to individual real estate markets is based on the national perception or what's talked about on the national scale. Just like any other story, just like I know too much about the Maxwell trial, just like I know about Omicron, those are what are trending. You don't have to go really far, but when you start to, right, what's the biggest trend? People are getting evicted. They didn't stop getting evicted when that happened a couple of months ago. The media just stopped talking about it, and therefore nobody paid attention or cared when they started evicting 7 million renters, which they started to do. And again, they have slowed it down. They've pushed everything back to January. You think it's a coincidence for conspiracy theory nuts to want to say, oh, look, January, Omicron, and possible lockdowns? If it was me and I knew that the country hadn't worked, right? This is like writing a doctor's note. Do I think Omicron is dangerous? Doesn't matter. Do I think that locking everything down and stopping foreclosures in the country from melting for another year and sending money to people will keep everything afloat? No. I think at some point you're going to crash. I feel like the Democrats, who are now in power, are trying to push everything so that when it drops, it explodes in a Republican lap. We all know how politics works. Where the poo pile drops is the person who did it. Doesn't matter if it happened before. Nobody talks about it that way. Sorry, I went on a rant there, but that's actual. That's the way this game works. It's like stepping on a flaming paper bag of poo. It's who's left with the poo stuck to their shoe that it smells. Not whether or not you lit the bag. If that makes sense. So this goes on, it goes back and forth. Those political trends filter down into the media. Those political views in the media filter down to your clients. And those are the same people who are buying and selling homes. So as we look at lead sources, I still say that people have missed payments. Look, the banks aren't going to sleep on this. They're not. They're somewhere between, depending on the report, 2 to 4 million people who've missed substantially large amounts of payments, and they're really going to work this out. The ones they can sell to, I believe it's FHFA that's working on the 40-year. Well, basically, let's just call it what it is. They're going to give everybody who did an FHA loan for sure that didn't pay a loan modification of some kind. Now, conventional financing is supposed to fall into that package, but that isn't my experience. So the new wave of loan mods for distressed people will be primarily FHA loans, and they'll be pre-approved. Like they'll find out, right? Because the government is going into the business of doing it. The government will find out that people who don't pay, don't pay. Cool. It's not going to infect the entire group. Now, if the media gets on board and tells everybody that there's loan mods and that everybody gets 40 years, yeah, it's going to affect all of you going to the door. See how it works? That's how it works. Because I may not watch the news. Let's say Derek does, right? And he comes down and we go out today. We're in Vegas. We're out and about on the strip. And he goes, hey, I just heard. That's how it works. I just heard that you can get a loan mod no matter what, no matter how many years of payments from the bank. You should do that, Lee, because you've missed all those payments. That's it. Generally speaking, most people don't go, hey, Derek, What's your source on this? Did you confirm it yourself? People don't do that. Generally speaking, most people just hear it and then just say it. So you have to be careful when you're doing your content that way. So creating content individually has to abide sort of to all these principles. And that's what makes it permission-based, so that when you get to those bigger moments, right? That's the way it works. Sorry, Barb, is that better? My volume better? Does that make sense for everybody when you guys create new content? Move this over and center me a little bit more. The awesome Mandalay Bay backdrop of the strip. I could have green screened it and do what I normally do in Vegas. For those of you who don't know anything about zooming and doing backdrops and doing exotic locations, unless you go stand outside on a parking garage and shoot in daylight with the background behind you, Zoom is never going to make it look right, ever. It's always easier to green screen. All of my people that are here, I tell the same thing, green screen, because, well, like in Antonio's case, we'll show you, right? So that little lead in is all about, what do you create for the coming year? You should be watching the news. Don't tell me individually for your market. Know the national news. What is the national view of my state right now? Does that make sense? I know that sounds confusing. What is the national view of my city, San Diego? What does the nation think of San Diego? And that's what you should know. Not, here's what the local news is saying. That's a small percentage of, I don't like that. I want the national view of the news with a hyper focus on my city. Got it? To do that, I use YouTube that pulls all that stuff. And then I run searches within that group. Let's say this week's trending news. Then I focus down to my cities or down to my state. And that's how it works. Simple. Then you create content for it. And so let me share the screen and talk about what to do with it once you've created it. That was a long prelude to, please, everyone, go do content. And if there's someone out there who would like me to create content for them so that I can create content for you, just, I'm going to give you leads. I'm going to do everything. I want to see if that's a thing. If it's not, then we will, I'll create an alternative or I'll refund your money, whatever the case. But I guarantee a listing, as I said earlier, when I do my projects. We actually get enough referrals that I do that. We tend to keep them in-house, put investors on them, but I can give out listings to make sure that this produces. This is the only program, because it is a trial program, that I guarantee a listing on. Pretty cool. So you guys should be looking at my screen right now, correct? We're all looking at my screen. As I said before, we have a brand new Home Advocates IO website. It's not even done. I've been spending days here in Vegas getting it up to date, but I do apologize. All right. So the first thing I was talking about was green screen or background, right? I'm a big believer in green screen. And here is why. So I shot with Antonio, as I do every week. And the content that this one is the buying or selling. I'm going to test both. I'm going to test somebody's insurance and I'm going to test somebody's refi, right? So I'm going to see which one works better. And that'll tell me trend wise what I have to do. You upload it pretty straightforward as a video. It's good to have a green screen. See, that's a green. Hi, welcome to your LA County home ad. I also like the fact that Facebook is much better at putting up, right? They are much better at putting up closed captions at the bottom. I think that's a really good bait. This hasn't even really been used yet. It's just been sitting here since I uploaded it before the call. So what, 30 or 40 minutes? It's already had 4 views. That means that the algorithm is running pretty appropriately right now. I will boost this. We've done videos on it. I will spend however many days until the next video is released on Facebook, sending it out specifically to a targeted area. So let's talk about Joe Smith in Arizona for a split second, right? Joe Smith in Arizona wants Phoenix. Great. So I want to target, I'm going to give you my Facebook ads, what I put in. Remember, you got to put it under housing or it won't get approved. I'm going to target for people to fill out the form this week, which Facebook actually gives you. You just fill it out and it gives them more information. We get more information. You can do it to chat. You could do it to a phone number. You could do it to an email. You could do it to a website. I don't know if it's more effective to send them to a big squeeze page or Facebook. So for this week, I chose to use the Facebook lead funnel production system, which is what I'm going to do for this group that I'm putting up this week. And that's what I'm after. How many views does it take to get somebody to fill out that form? And my targeting for that group, if you are a Facebook ad buyer, I target females age 35 and up. This is the same in every place. And I'm sure there are people wincing at my demographics right now. I am targeting women 35 plus, period, that are specifically into do-it-yourself and home gardening. And then if you look, the titles are very straightforward. Selling or refinancing in Los Angeles. If you're, same on YouTube, right? Very straightforward, eye-catching pop-ups for those things. We have an insurance one. Is your house flooding? Do you need insurance? It's a specific about Jane and I having a discussion whether or not there is actual alligator insurance, which should be a thing. Or in Arizona, I don't know, fire, wind. There's always insurance to be had. In California, it's ridiculous. In Florida, it's ridiculous as well. So we use those titles to get them to stop. And then as you've seen on the other videos, which I've done endlessly. So this video that I just put out will probably run for 7 or 8 or 9 days at about $3 a day cost. The first thing I do when I post this up, right? I log in back under myself and I share it. There's a way to share it as me, right? Facebook will let me, as a normal human being, click share and share it to my timeline. But more importantly, what it will really do, it will let me share to groups. I think this is important before you buy the ad, right? So let's just, for the sake of discussion, say this is San Diego we're talking about. I'm going to put it in a San Diego group, or I'm going to put it into a San Diego real estate based group. And because it's actual content, they generally get approved by the administrators. If you are failing to be able to post in groups, it's because you're selling and not creating content. And the groups that don't want realtors or investors in them at all, which this is a true story, in Las Vegas, there is a group. It's a several hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in it. It's one of my favorite groups. You can sell anything. I have seen drugs move across the page. It's an exaggeration, but it's a sell anything, advertise anything group. The only thing you cannot advertise is if you're a real estate agent. To me, that is the funniest thing that I know on the planet. In the city where everything is legal, there is a group that will let you advertise anything digitally on Facebook, except if you're a real estate agent. Digest that one for a moment, because that's a very real thing. And it's kind of funny to me. So I will share these in select groups with the city first. Then I will run at about $3 a day, right? I have $100 a week budget. And then the second thing I do is I have been running YouTube ads as well, right? I've been going back and forth, who's doing more clicks. There aren't as many options with YouTube that I like, right? The physical, I'm getting the views, I'm not getting the engagement. And to me, the engagement is more important than having a following on YouTube for Antonio or Terrell or Jane or Joe Smith in Arizona. I don't believe that. I think it's great if you're branding long term, and those are the byproducts of good content creation. But I'm just like you. I'm in this for the buyers and sellers, right? There is no doubt that I would do this myself if I was looking for listings in San Diego. I would probably do it daily and change the content daily. I would run as much of it as I could, but I would only do them in 6-minute increments. If you're going to do dailies, you do 3 to 6 minutes. If you're doing weeklies, you want to be, like I said, sitcom, 16 to 20 minutes, 11 to 20, under 20 minutes, TED Talk size, right? And that's it. Run those, send them into a funnel, produce them, rinse, repeat. Any of you can do that on your own. I'm not exactly sure why more people don't create content. Antonio was kind enough to talk about it once. See if I could pull it up really quickly. But the reality is it makes sense to me because I am looking for, I will paste it one more time for the group that's here. If you're watching the replay, I want one of you or two of you that would be willing to let me do your videos in your market. It seems exciting to me. So let me see if I can find this really quickly about Antonio talking about it. There it is. Hey, we were just talking about the Red Marketing Program, everyone, and we just finished another one for Antonio, who now, over just a couple of videos, is rapidly approaching his first 1,000 viewers at $100 a week, which we were laughing about. That's guaranteed with a listing because I do get those kind of referrals into the pipeline. What is it from your perspective that the reluctance is of other people in the program joining this?
I think maybe they're a little shy being on camera, but I'm on recording. But you get over it, man. You get over it, and every episode you're gonna get better and better. And you just throw out all the stuff You're a good realtor. You got a good heart. It's easy. Just go out and share what you know and answer the questions Lee puts it on. But further on the side, I mean, look, it's $100 a week. I was thinking right off the bat, I go, man, I know Lee knows all this background stuff on the background of all this YouTube and all that good stuff to get them out there. I don't have time to learn that, but I do want to get my point across, and I do want to be exposed to more. And we spend $100 in crazy things every week.
Oh my gosh!
Invest it in yourself, man. Invest it in yourself. Join. Do something with it. Call Lee, man. I'm telling you, it's the beginning, but I can see that it's just gonna grow more and more to good things, and it's just gonna make you look good ultimately, and you're gonna get deals out of it.
You've been around me for a long time, so we already know how this plays out. Well, once I get it perfected and I know exactly what the numbers are based on track record, and it goes to 500 a week, which it's still a deal. I've clearly had that number in my head for a while, and you know what? I'm going to be right at the end of the day. So take advantage of the link below if you want me to do it. If not, create some content next year. Okay, it's not that hard. Just look at the national view, talk about it. Create a video, use the information I just gave you on setting it up. Use Sprizzy if you want YouTube advertising. You can hyper focus. As I was saying, I focus literally on the same groups, 35 plus females, women demographically in that specific region, because you can target to an area, to a county, to a city with both programs. With Facebook specifically, I picked the do-it-yourself home improvement crowd. With YouTube, I use keyword. Tell you my keyword. My keyword is Zillow, and then I match it to all the Zillow related websites because that's where buyers and sellers are. It's simple. If somebody's watching something on Zillow or looking for Zillow, I want to pop up in that Google search. And that's how I do it. And that's how you generate. That's how you get thousands of people looking at you each week. That's how you get 45 engagements. That's how you get, right? If you're producing that many people watching and moving to the next level, then yeah, you want qualified clicks of people wanting your advice. The idea is to position yourself instead of a closing agent. So stay away from closing on your videos, focus more on advocacy. We do it ad nauseum almost, but I record multiple shows. So, but I hammer on it constantly. I think the new one is your cousin or your Uncle Bob or whatever it is, right? Uncle Bob's a realtor, hire him. that's really bad advice for that particular individual. They don't really, that's based on, I should trust them because they're family. I like them because they're family, but that doesn't mean that they're an expert. What we're trying to do with an actual video is create all three categories: trust, like, and expertise or credibility on the topic. Video, long-term, repeatedly searchable, will create that for you. If you have all three, you're a lock to be top of mind when they need to go. When you couple that with a phone call and answer questions without anything, you're into the law of reciprocation if you want to have a discussion about psychology. And now you really will be top of mind. Add that to your email campaigning, your follow-up routines. That's how you build these large engines that'll do it. Ta-da. Simple as that. There's no mystical formula other than that. How big do you want to be in the market? Eric's talking about doing it. Okay, here's how we do it, Eric, right? I just create content over and over and over again. Talking about Eric, and he's an advocate. He's in Seattle. That's the only person that I get over and over and over and over and ad nauseum, right? It's rinse, repeat, get the people, follow up, rinse, repeat. He gets a phone call. Hey, watch one of your videos. I have some questions. That's it. That's how you get, if your goal next year is to be the number one person, let me tell you what the number one person in your market is doing. Exactly what I told you. There's just nobody doing it for them. They did all that hard work by trial and error themselves, generally speaking. David Bartels, good friend, creator of a helpful creator of the program, and a ton of content that's in the coaching room with David Bartels. David got to where he is in his area by creating content, constantly sending it out there, constantly branding within his area until he was the number one agent, and just kept branding it and ramping it up. When you go into his area, you're hiring David Bartels and his company. It's as simple as that. And that's by creating content and doing it long-term. So the advantages prove themselves out. Kyle Wessel in San Diego. He just did a video for agents called the 12 Days of Video, talking about doing videos. They focus more on how the video should look and how to set them up and blah, blah. I don't believe in any of that stuff. Those people are fine-tuning and doing some really cool stuff. And by the way, I don't believe that Kyle Wessel is doing any of the backbone. I love Kyle. He's a monster person. He is in Steve Hawks in Vegas. I've got other state, city, local number ones where they do this glowing review of how I got them started in real estate when we did short sales back in 2007. That has nothing to do with this, right? This is just a straight marketing thing. They all have their spin. I think Kyle invests his money well. He hires someone like me and keeps his content on track. He shares, he's open about his life. He's out there. Like when people Google Kyle in San Diego or you follow him on social media, you are engaged. He shares his family. If you look at the way I do it almost in the same format. It's very calculated. I don't show anything that's too crazy ever. I mean, I was even on the fence of the night that we all went to go eat dinner, and it was all my friends and all my work friends. They're all the same to me, my relationships that I'm close with, right? I shared that I was surrounded by those people and eating a dinner with them. It kind of looked like everybody was passed out at the table. That was actually from food, and there was almost no drinking at that table. Only a couple of people drank, I believe, that night. So I'm very aware of that because my image should be what I preach. And I try to keep my image to what I preach because it could affect, say, Eric, who wants me to do his city for him. My image has to match. I tend to look at people's social media, and if I have to tell you to clean it up, I will. Or if it's far enough back, I don't think people will look that far into your background. All of these things matter. All the state number ones know that it matters. That's why they buy auto stuff to post. Nobody ever does it long enough to watch it, except for the number ones who will invest and keep doing it. I have a friend specifically right now who is doing content. Didn't ask me, never does, went to someone else, cranking out content, very high paid video content, and putting a lot of it out. I know from experience with this particular friend that they will give up on the project within a few months because it's not producing, and they'll just look at the profit and loss on it. That's not how this works. Even if I did TV ads, I would commit to doing it for 1 year, period. Everything has to commit to a year, 52 episodes before you call it a failure. Has to. If you're doing weekly episodes, if you're doing daily episodes, whatever your number is, you got to do that for a year if you want to create a following. That's my opinion on what I've seen. But it does take these long-term turnovers and looking for the sake of, by this time next year, I want to be here with the number of people, right? You can't predict how many people are going to follow you on Facebook or even YouTube. Don't care what anybody says. They can't grow it, brand it. The things to focus on are how you're hyper-focusing that content specifically to your niche. And YouTube still allows it. Sprizzy is the app that I use that helps me target and put them together quicker than me having to run YouTube ads. But again, I'm looking at the new YouTube algorithms, and I may have to run those by hand, or at least teach a third party to put your videos up that way. I'm in the process of hiring someone to replace the red system and do it for me, so I can take, say, this video and flip it to them and go, it's Antonio, put the Antonio header on it, blah, 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 and clean it up and chop it down and make it look great and fly in some effects and his phone numbers. That's the idea for the rest of the, like, those things will happen throughout the year. The videos will get better and better and better. Simple as that. Because at the end of the day, the what's in it for me is this program sometime next year is now 500 a week, and I've proven my results, and I have more testimonials. Just like anything else I do, same for you. It's creating credibility in content. Rinse, repeat. Click the link.